The Tree of the Dreams. Between the mountains, there was an old village. The village was small, but the problems were very big. Poverty, hunger, and sickness had tired everyone. In the middle of the village stood an old and dry tree. Old stories were famous about it that this tree was once magical. People used to say that whoever prayed from the heart, their greatest wish would be fulfilled. But now this tree had been standing dry for years, and the villagers believed that it was only a legend. In the same village lived a boy. His name was John. He was an orphan, but his heart was very pure. In the day he worked as a laborer, and in the evening he taught the village children. His biggest wish was that the conditions of the village would change, people would prosper, and no one would sleep hungry. John often went to the dry tree. He used to sit there and pray. The villagers would see him and laugh. John, these are all fairy tales. This tree will never turn green. But John used to say, if we all lose hope, how will life move forward? I will pray and I will also work hard. John not only prayed, but also cleaned around the tree. He leveled the ground, sometimes poured water. With time, he began to serve others. If someone was sick, he would go and take care of them. If someone was hungry, he would share his bread. If a poor child was left without books, John would give him his old books. People thought he was crazy, but slowly some children joined him. They too began planting flowers around the tree. One day famine came. For many months there was no rain. The fields dried up. People laughed at John. Now look, nothing happened to your tree either. All effort wasted. John's heart was hurt, but he did not lose courage. He said, the bigger the trial, the more necessary the patience. After many months, one night suddenly clouds gathered. With thunder and lightning, rain poured down. The village land became green. The next morning, when John went to the tree, he saw that from the dry trunk tiny green leaves had sprouted. Tears came to John's eyes. He shouted with joy, the time has come at last. At first the people were doubtful, but as days passed, more leaves grew on the tree. Birds began to return. Some young men of the village joined John. Together they watered the tree, planted a garden around it. Slowly the tree turned into a dense, green tree. People began to sit in its shade, to pray there. Some people's illnesses lessened, some people's prayers were fulfilled. The atmosphere of the village changed. But one day some greedy people of the village wanted to cut the tree. They said its wood could be sold for money. When John heard, he stood against them. This tree is not just wood, it is our hope. If we cut it, we cut our soul. Those people became angry, but the whole village stood with John. Together they decided that the tree would be protected. A few years passed, the village became prosperous. Fields were fertile, people educated, children laughing and playing. And in the middle, the same magical tree stood green. One day the elder of the village, Hakim Sahib, gathered everyone and said, this tree is a symbol of John's hard work and goodness. The real magic was not in the tree, but in John's heart. If we all do good together, every dry tree of the world can turn green. Everyone prayed for John, and from that day the villagers began to share each other's sorrows and joys. In the end, John smiled and said, the real magic is in our hearts. If we live with patience and goodness, then everything is possible. If you like my story, like this video and subscribe the channel. Thank you.